Hello, and thank you for your interest in iRobot. I'm Elise Caffrey, iRobot Investor Relations, and with me today are Colin Angle, founder and CEO of iRobot Corporation, and Alison Dean, Chief Financial Officer of iRobot. We thought it would be helpful for prospective investors who are not that familiar with the company to hear directly from the CEO and CFO about the company, its products, and its opportunities. So with that, I'll turn it over to Colin to tell us a little bit about iRobot and its mission.
Sure. So iRobot is a 28-year-old company, technology company focused on building practical robots. We were born out of MIT with some fundamental technology and artificial intelligence that allowed us to make machines intelligent using a very small microprocessor, and have grown that technology into a billion-dollar consumer robot company.
So you've talked about the technology. Would you characterize iRobot as a technology company or as a consumer electronics company?
From our origin, the technology that enabled our toolkit has been paramount. We've always been pushing the bounds of the possible on artificial intelligence, on sensing, low-cost integration of electromechanical with digital hardware to create these new types of machines, and then applying that to different problems. And so very strongly, we are a technology company, and over the years have learned how to apply that technology against real problems. And over the last 16 years with Roomba, have focused on the consumer as our customer and helping maintain the home as our application area.
And Allison, what are the primary growth drivers for the company over the next couple of years?
Roomba will definitely be the biggest growth driver for the company over the next few years. We are going to continue to innovate the product line, bringing new features and functionality to the consumers, and we're going to continue to invest in sales and marketing to promote broader awareness of the category, driving further global household penetration.
And globally, where do you see the greatest opportunities for growth?
Growth are going to happen across all our major regions. US, Europe, and Japan will all be significant contributors to our growth.
How much of your total annual revenue is attributable to the Roomba product?
90% more or less is driven by Roomba today.
And what other products do you sell?
We have a mopping category of robots. Those represent the remaining 10% of the business today. Those will also be a growth driver as we continue to create awareness of that category on a global basis, driving further adoption of the mopping robots.
Any other products in the pipeline that you can talk about as potential growth drivers?
Sure. Over time, we are investing in a new product category, which is robotic lawn mowing. It's not available today, but we think in the outer years that could definitely be a significant growth driver for the company.
And Colin, from a household penetration view, where do you see the opportunity? What do you think it is today, and where do you think it can get to?
So we're 16 years in from the launch of Roomba, but really it's only in recent years that we've seen an acceleration in adoption. And so in the US, we're the most heavily penetrated. We're at about 10% penetration. And that sounds pretty good, but really it's a beginning. We believe that could easily grow to be 30% with our current products. And 30% household penetration in the US does not represent a ceiling for robotic vacuuming. We're seeing lower price point robots enter the market, which further expand the overall potential. And as robots like the i7 and i7 Plus robots enter the market, we actually are seeing growth in new categories, customers who are interested in just forgetting about cleaning and handing off responsibility to a third party, where our traditional robots appeal most to people who are very, very interested in having an extremely clean and neat home.
It seems like over the last couple of years that growth has been accelerating a little bit. Can you tell me why you think it's been accelerating and
Sure.
what will drive it?
Well, there's a mainstreaming of robot vacuum cleaning. In the early years, um, robot vacuuming was considered a novelty. Skepticism was massive as to whether or not these robots actually worked. And as we have both improved the performance of the robots and continued to invest in awareness in the category of robot vacuums, the robot vacuuming segment, we've seen an inflection point be passed. Last year, for example, the Roomba was the top selling SKU, it was the top selling vacuum cleaner in the United States. About 23% of all money spent on vacuum cleaners is now spent on the robot vacuuming segment. And we saw traditional vacuuming actually shrink for the first time in history. And so these are all very powerful indications that we've entered into the sort of the hyper growth phase of new product adoption.
Well, clearly your success has attracted competition in the market. How has that landscape changed over the past couple of years?
I think that if you have any interest in the vacuuming category, you are now in the space. And so we're not waiting for the next consumer product company to enter. Everyone is in. And the way it breaks down, iRobot globally has about mid 60% segment, with literally 100 companies occupying the remaining 35%. We have maintained that market presence and that market strength through innovation, through constantly raising the bar on what our robots can do, through building and driving the iRobot brand, and really working on our marketing and sales and marketing programs to create the desire for iRobot robots.
How long do the Roomba products last?
They're designed for 3-year lifetimes, and we try to, with our product release schedule, give you a compelling reason to upgrade after 2 years. And so once you join the Roomba franchise and experience the benefits of a robot vacuuming for you, we have great data showing that you're in the franchise and you're excited to re-up when we give you a compelling new reason to buy.
So are most of your sales repeat customers, or are they people who are learning about robotic vacuum cleaners and buying for the first time?
So based on the dynamic I described and the rapid growth in the category, it's about 2/3 new, 1/3 repeat at this point in time, which we're very happy with.
Can you describe for us the product development process? How does something go from idea to prototype to commercially viable product?
It certainly starts with understanding the customer need. We have, if we're thinking about new categories, we're looking at where do people spend their time maintaining their home and have dislike the job that is they're being asked to do on a routine basis. That really makes for a good robot, and then we try to match that list up with the technical feasibility of actually doing it. I'd love to have a robot folding my laundry. Manipulation at consumer price points is not technically feasible, so I'm going to have to wait. On the other hand, vacuuming was the perfect balance between frequency, the fact that people are willing to pay a certain amount for a vacuum cleaner, and technical feasibility. And we've seen this disruption of traditional vacuuming as a result.
You've talked about these new products that you've launched recently, and you've talked about the importance of the mapping capability in the i7.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us why you think this is such a significant advancement for iRobot and
Mm-hmm.
for Roomba?
The i7 and i7 Plus are true leaps of capability, leaps forward in capability, because it changes the relationship that you have with your robot in a profound way. And so even without talking about the strategic importance of maps, which I'll get to in a second, the experience is different. So marrying a robot with a auto evac station that can empty the dustbin 30 times means that if you traditionally emptied your dustbin every 1 or 2 weeks, you go a year without touching the robot. You come home every day and the robot has just done its job and cleaned your home. And if you're cooking in the kitchen and make a spill, you don't want to wait to the next day for the robot to vacuum. You want to clean it up now. But now you can say, and this is enabled, one of the things that Maps enables, you can say, Alexa, have Roomba clean the kitchen. And the right thing will happen. And so when we think about how technology is supposed to help our lives, this is a great advantage. Come home every day for a year to a freshly vacuumed home. And if I make a step, make a spill, just voice the words, clean up the kitchen, and have the right thing happen. So in order for that to work, the robots have had to become much more intelligent, understand their environments, understand where the kitchen is, understand where maybe problem areas might be in the home. And that requires the robot to have a memory. And we represent the memory of the home in a qualitative map. So a shape of the floor plan divided up into rooms. The owner of the Roomba is able to move the room divisions slightly. It guesses that it's mostly right, but you move the dividers to accurately reflect how you think about your house, and then you name those spaces. Now the robot understands rooms and can clean a room, and that enables this clean my kitchen functionality. But that's the beginning of how this understanding of the home is going to create value for iRobot. In order for robots to become more intelligent, and this might surprise people, it's not a lack of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence technology is very powerful and actually wildly ahead of what a robot can take advantage of today. What is missing is an understanding of where anything is. You know, if I want the robot to go get me a drink from the kitchen, the robot has to know where the kitchen is. You know, and then know where the refrigerator is. And so it's not AI, it's this spatial understanding, and that's at the core of iRobot's technology, and that is the mapping technology that we've just released in the i7 robot.
That all sounds very exciting, but are you collecting data about people's homes that could enable a hack or some sort of leakage of data that a homeowner might not want?
Well, it's a great question. What about privacy and more importantly, what about security? I suppose they're both equally important. You know, iRobot has architected our products from the ground up with security in mind. I want to start there. Regardless of your privacy policy, if a hacker can come in and take your data, the policy is irrelevant. So you have to start with security at the lowest level. And iRobot, even back, sort of starting back in the days when we did work for the Defense Department, spent a lot of time architecting our designs to make sure any information the robot collected was secure. And then on top of that, we ask your permission so that the robot doesn't store any data about the home without you saying, okay, I would like that to happen. And then in return for that happening, we give you a benefit. You know, if you want the robot to clean your kitchen, the robot needs to know where the kitchen is. And that's the trade-off. And so that we are secure. We've asked your permission. Do you want to clean the kitchen? And if you change your mind and say, I no longer want Roomba to remember anything about my home, you can go and click a button and we delete everything we know about you from the server. So that's called one of the aspects of being GDPR compliant. So iRobot data and our customers represent a trusting partnership that we're trying to nurture. And iRobot has gone online and it says publicly on our website, we will not sell your data. That's another important thing to understand about us. We think that we would love to use the data to offer you services that you would value, and that creates benefit to the customer and benefit back to iRobot possibly. And that's how we intend to keep that relationship around data, privacy, and security and value to the customer in balance.
Thank you. Switching back to Allison to look at the financials a little bit. As we look at the gross margin year to year, quarter over quarter, there's quite a bit of fluctuation. I know that there are a lot of factors that impact gross margin in any quarter. Can you talk a little bit about those factors that impact gross margin and some of the initiatives that you have underway to try to maintain the tremendous gross margins that you've been able to achieve?
Sure. So there's a lot of factors that go into our gross margin. The most important probably is the actual bill of materials of the various products and the component costs that fill out those bill of materials. Labor rates at our contract manufacturers can also impact our overall gross margins. Our price points in the mix of our products, as well as the promotional activities that we're running in any particular quarter, could impact gross margins and certainly could impact them on a quarter-to-quarter basis. As we introduce new products, quarterly gross margins can fluctuate. We also focus a lot of our R&D investment and manufacturing investment in product quality. We're looking to increase the quality, and as we do so, our warranty expenses decrease and our product returns decrease, and those can certainly be favorable impacts to our gross margins. So it is important not to get overly focused on any given quarter's gross margins, but really to try to look at the company on an annual basis. We encourage our investors to do that really with many of the metrics in the P&L, because we do have many quarterly fluctuations, not just with gross margin.
As we move on down the P&L statement, it seems like you spend quite a bit on R&D. Can you talk about what percentage you think is the right percentage and sort of how you allocate that R&D spending?
Sure. So we spend about 13% of revenue on an annual basis for R&D to really create the innovations that Colin talked about that'll help us keep our market leadership position. We deploy most of those dollars towards what we call core products. Those are the products that are driving the revenue and the profitability of the company today. But it's also important for us to ensure we are funding the next few horizons of products and technologies that may be important to us as well. So we invest probably 75 to 80% of our R&D in the core, and then the remainder goes to things that may be important several years down the road.
And what about sales and marketing? I know over the last couple of years, it seems like there have been incremental investments in sales and marketing for different reasons. Can you sort of comment on your philosophy there, and then whether you expect to get leverage from either area of OpEx going forward?
So yeah, we've made conscious investments in sales and marketing over the past several years. A lot of it is to take advantage of what Colin described earlier as this sort of inflection point in the adoption of robotic vacuum cleaners. We've really wanted to take advantage of that inflection point, continue to drive broader global awareness of the category and our leadership within it. So we've definitely been investing to do that. We've also been investing to grow the mopping category, which we talked about earlier. For many years, we didn't directly invest in that category. We were trying to build the installed base of Roomba first, getting very satisfied consumers in our installed base, so that selling an incremental product would have a lower cost than if we were doing it independently. As our installed base of Roomba has grown, we've started to directly advertise and create marketing campaigns around the mopping category. So that's another area that we've been investing in. And then in 2017, as a way to further drive and take advantage of the growth that we're seeing in the market segment, we integrated with a few of our distributors. We actually purchased the distributors so that we can go direct to market, and that was another factor that caused our sales and marketing to increase. So there's definitely been very specific investments we've been making. We do expect over time that we will get leverage out of our sales and marketing as this category continues to grow. and we get more leverage across the business.
And you mentioned the acquisitions. Are you happy with the acquisitions that you've made thus far? What do you think they've contributed to the company as a whole?
Yeah, we're very happy with the acquisitions. We think they were both great decisions. We did those so that we could get more direct control over the marketing initiatives in those regions, creating more consistency with our brand on a global basis, and we feel like we've accomplished that. We've also been able to reestablish relationships with some key retailers in those regions that previously our distributors weren't investing in, such as Amazon in Europe, Amazon in Japan, as well as a few others. So we're very pleased with how those integrations have been going.
Well, that's great. That wraps up our conversation today. Those are some of the questions that we get most frequently from investors. So we hope that you found this to be a helpful conversation. And if you have any additional questions or looking for additional information, please refer to the investor relations page of the iRobot website.